Yeah, and that was my experience. I just knew Black History Month was a thing, and George Washington Carver did research with peanuts. That was the extent of it.
I think that's a counter argument to deprive people of just their basic right to know.
In recent years, Black History Month has faced criticism, with some saying that by celebrating black achievement for 1 month out of the calendar year, black achievement is being minimized. On this week's episode of the Infusion Breakdown Show, the Breakdown crew sat down among ourselves to discuss whether or not we should still celebrate Black History Month. Let's see what we come up with.
Before we get started on today's episode, I'd like to introduce to you our Black owned business of the week, where we showcase quality Black owned businesses for you to support every week. This week's business is Tay's Honey by Monte Taylor. Tay's Honey is a 40 Villages affiliate business that specializes in legally grown CBD infused honey. CBD can help with inflammation, is a natural antioxidant, and has antipsychotic properties. Not to mention, honey tastes great. If you want to try some of Tay's Honey and reap the benefits, check out the link in their bio.
So the question we have for today, should Black History Month exist? Comment below, let us know your opinion. We also have timestamps in the description below. As always, be sure to check them out. I just came up with this topic because it is, of course, said month, and of course, with that, you start seeing people acknowledge it. And it's not to say those people didn't celebrate Black people outside of February. It's just with more people starting to celebrate more Black people, the question arises if Black History Month should actually exist at all. But before I actually go into what I think, I'm actually curious to hear at least one of you guys' opinions.
I have a number of things to say about this particular topic, but I guess the short and narrow of it is I do believe that Black history should be celebrated because if not, things like this go by the wayside. Even with it being a regular thing, it wasn't up until I say this past month or maybe a little bit before where I actually knew the origin of Black History Month. Like that part wasn't informed to me, and it wasn't. That's not something I could blame on the school system, for example. It was just out of I guess part of that I wasn't exposed to it, but I take responsibility for my own ignorance and not knowing. So I took some time to do the research and do a little bit of reading about that. Now I know the origin of it, and so with that being said, I think that Black history should be celebrated as is, just like other cultures have their months too. And I don't have any gripe about the fact that it's February. Some people will say that, well, it's the shortest month. Well, it was actually chosen to be February because it was originally an extension of Black History or Negro History Week that was celebrated during the week of Abraham Lincoln and Frederick Douglass's birthday. So that pretty much negates that argument. It wasn't selected arbitrarily because it was the shortest month. But yeah, to that point, I do think that we should still celebrate it just because of just the human tendency to forget things. So if you don't really allocate time to do things and I guess practice remembrance and celebration, then we just lose it. Did you know the history of Black History Month?
I actually just learned it recently too, just like you.
Des, did you know the history of Black History Month?
Nah, I was ignorant to it as well.
Like, are you still ignorant, or are you saying that you were?
No, I was past tense. Like I was
Gotcha.
ignorant, but I know the origin of it is.
So I guess for the people who don't know, we could probably just go over the three of us then. So what's crazy about this is the guy who was the mastermind behind this, I feel, was Carter G. Woodson. And then it was another guy he worked with was Jesse E. Moreland. But if you were to put Carter G. Woodson in like a lineup of like Black historical figures, I couldn't pick him out prior to like doing this now. But like I had never even heard of him. And most people, I feel like they had either. And just like the initial inception of like with them founding the Association for Study of Negro Life and History, and then which later became, which in its modern incarnation is the Association for the Study of African American Life and History, because of the connotation with Negro, I would assume. And so it was sponsored Negro History Week, like I said, 1926, and with because it coincided with Frederick Douglass and Abraham Lincoln's birthdays. Then after the Civil Rights Movement, President Gerald Ford acknowledged it as a national month. So ever since then, they start to celebrate it, and every president picks a theme for it. And one thing I guess when I came across that, the theme of Black History Month for this year, which I don't know if you guys have heard that, but it's Black family, representation, identity, and diversity. Do you know what the theme was for last year? The president chose this.
Donald
It was,
Trump.
yeah, which is crazy. I was like, did he even choose one?
What was it?
It was African Americans in the vote. Are you at all surprised?
Nah. You said last
Not at
year,
all.
so it's yeah. I mean, it was
2020.
election year too. Yeah. Nah, I'm not surprised.
Like, I wanted to see if I could find like a consolidated list of all the ones ever, because they said since 1976 it's been a yearly thing that the president does. It's kind of like select a theme for it.
I didn't realize that. No.
I was just curious. I was just like, I wonder what Donald Trump picked as the theme for Black History Month.
Yeah, I'm not surprised at that, especially with it being an election year. Yeah.
Exactly.
Are you on the same page, Des?
Yeah. I did some reading on it as well, and like I try to remain impartial about a lot of the stuff I read. But like Carter G. Woodson, he wasn't a dummy. Like he's the second African American to graduate from Harvard with a PhD behind W.B. Du Bois. He was the dean of Howard. So like if you ever want to question the black man's integrity, like he's literally been the leader of one of the most notorious HBCUs in the nation. But I think the one thing that he said that stuck out to me, that made me buckle down and really go all in on my answer of yes, I do believe it should still be supported and of course celebrated even after all the awareness that's came from it. But he stated that if a race has no history, it has no worthwhile tradition. It becomes a negligible factor in the thought of the world, and it stands a danger to being exterminated. The American Indian left behind no continuous record. He did not appreciate the value of tradition, and where is he today? C says the Hebrew keenly appreciated the value of tradition, and as it is attested by the Bible itself, in spite of worldwide persecution. Therefore, he is a great factor in our civilization. So it's more or less like, regardless if we choose not to study, there is exposure there. So it can't be forgotten simply because of that continuous exposure, regardless of one's desire to, read or learn more information on it. Like if you think about the Bible, not everyone is religious, but everybody knows who Jesus Christ is. Everybody knows, of the 10 Commandments. If they don't know the 10 Commandments, they know, all the, I'm not gonna say all of it, but they know, they can scratch the surface on what key things are within the Bible and what things they, decide to ignore.
What was that quote from?
That was from, so I didn't quote my source, but this is something that at the time of Negroes History Week launch, this is rationale behind it. So I'm assuming this was like the early late 1920s, between 1926 and 29.
Gotcha. Could you send that source after we get off?
Yeah, I got you.
So you guys don't think Black history will be limited if it's just confined within 1 month?
I think it's already limited. I think it would be, I think if we didn't do it for 1 month, or I guess, like I said, allocate the specific time for it, it wouldn't be getting done. Just the nature of how we are and the way that we do things. I guess.
Why is it limited?
Why is it limited?
Yeah.
Because I mean, just even with the three of us, we were all three, I guess, up until like extremely recently, ignorant of what Black History Month was. We didn't take the initiative to do that research, and we're pretty forward-thinking, pretty curious people. So
I'm not gonna say I didn't know
what to people.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say I didn't know what Black History Month was or what the intention behind it was, but I didn't know the origin of it. Like I've always known what the intention of it was because I went to private school. Like I went to this private school that was owned by a predominantly Black church, and this was stuff that we were learning about this stuff in first and second grade during the entire month of February. So like I had the awareness, but for someone who isn't privy to or privileged enough to go to private school or go to a predominantly Black institution of whatever, you're not going to have that same exposure. Like if you've been in public school your entire life, chances are you're not going to have that exposure.
Yeah, and that was my experience. I just knew Black History Month was a thing, and George Washington Carver did research with peanuts. That was the extent of it. And I just knew that Martin Luther King and then other select Black individuals. No disrespect to any of them, but that was the extent of it. I didn't know the full origin of it, from its genesis up until its modern day incarnation.
Okay.
Yeah,
What about you, Josh?
When it first comes to the question, I agree with you guys. First, I think Black History Month should be continuously taught throughout the year, but I believe Black History Month should exist, man, because the school system doesn't teach Black history. I mean, the only Black history they teach in school is, like you said, Bryan, George Washington Carver, or MLK being nonviolent, or us being slaves, but none of the real important things Black kids actually need. And I remember being in my 11th grade class and my teacher saying slavery wasn't that bad, and I remember looking around the class like, you just gonna let me say this?
I've heard something similar to that from a teacher.
Oh yeah. I remember
crazy.
hearing that. Yeah, I remember. Do you know the background of your teacher? Because my teacher was Republican. Like, we talk politics and everything too. So
I don't. But the quote was for this one was that the white families, the children, they love their nannies, and that I guess it kind of, I don't know if I'm misrepresenting what she said, but it was like, yeah, it was bad, but there was some perks to it.
Yeah, it was some exactly. It was some perks to it. Some
it was a rose, but it had thorns, like a few thorns on it.
Exactly. That's exactly how they presented it. And I was just like, you're just gonna let him say this? Like, I was looking around the class like, nobody else upset about this? All right, cool. And I felt Black History Month didn't exist. The amount of Black history taught in school would more than likely dissipate, like you said, Bryan. And I mean, I understand that Black history is American history, but since they don't teach it enough in schools, there should be a Black History Month or some type of Black history class, like there is African American studies in college. But I don't know if there is an actual Black history class in high school or something like that.
Question about the teacher. So could that not have been a factual account? Because we realize the fact that slavery was an atrocity. In fact, one of the biggest atrocities to mankind in general. But I think even in that, like what the example that my teacher gave was that the children of some of the slave masters, they had relationships with their nannies and their caretakers. So even in that, like, of course it's obviously wrong that they were enslaved, but I don't think that she was wrong in making us aware of that and illustrating that, but I think she may have done a poor job in how exactly she decided to convey that and represent it to the class.
Okay, that's your teacher though. My teacher.
But you said yours was a little different.
Yeah, mine's they presented in the same way, but I know the background of my teacher, and I know he was Republican. You know his background of what he followed in politics and everything like that. So, I knew that he was like, wait, wasn't that bad? Like, I'm pretty sure he got that opinion. What I'm saying is, I'm pretty sure he got that opinion from some type of Fox News source from on the television or something that he grew up with. It's not, you know what I mean? So not that bad. What the fuck? That's one of the main things I remember in high school.
Like, the quote was not that bad.
Yeah, it was like, I look, I still remember his face saying that shit. He's like, I know slavery, but some slaves had it bad, but in all, slavery wasn't that bad. Okay, me looking around. Okay, but yeah, just like I said, until the school system actually incorporates Black history into American history and put it in the curriculum, then you probably won't need anything to do with Black History Month. But until then, I do feel it is a need for Black History Month, though. I was almost going to come here and say no, though, until I actually thought about it.
You were? Yeah. Why would you have said no?
Because I remember seeing Morgan Freeman say that Black history is American history, so it shouldn't be a month. There shouldn't be some type of month to just focus on Black history. And I was like, oh, I mean, I kind of agree with that, but I've actually never actually sat down and thought about why is there a Black History Month, like the origin, like you said, and everything like that. But
yeah, and like if you remove the time to focus on something, do you think that people would actually ever focus on it? That would be the inverse. What I guess people like Morgan Freeman would hope, that it would become a more prominent part of our culture and more celebrated. But if we were to remove this and say, okay, no more Black History Month, what do you think would happen?
All right, yeah, I agree. Yeah, because they barely teach it in school now. So
exactly.
Like, oh, cool. No Black History Month. Perfect.
You think there's gonna be like military circle where they have like where they have the dashiki shops and all that?
Nah. Not at all. But one problem they have with Black History Month is that it can create some type of hero worship. Do you guys agree with that?
Could you? I understand the concept of hero worship, but how does this argument relate to Black history? Like, could you
Because
explain a little bit more?
this is just another question I'm going into.
Mhm.
Because that's just because some people would say Black history should be taught throughout the school system throughout the year, right? You know what I mean? So, but if they say Black History Month creates some type of hero worship, then what are the odds, or what are the or they say that it's racist? You know what I mean? Like Black History Month is racist because it's only focused on Black history, not everybody else. You know what I mean? So, and with that, it can create some type of hero worship. You agree?
I have my thoughts, but I'll let Des go ahead first because I've been speaking for a little bit.
Nah, I don't agree. Yeah, it's just a very, very blunt. Like I don't agree because I think it's just a what if scenario. Like we've had Black History Month for what you said 76. So yeah, a lot longer than I'm counting. I'm coming up on 50 years in 2026. So we're what 45. We're gonna celebrate for 45 years, something along those lines. No, I don't buy it. I think that's a counter argument to deprive people of just their basic right to know. Like you need to know the same way people love Abraham Lincoln for whatever reason, same people that love FDR for whatever reason, same people that love Nixon for whatever reason. Like they love them for their own reasons. If hero worshiping is to happen, it's going to happen regardless of who's acquiring or obtaining the information. So to use that as like a reason that's why you should not incorporate Black history, I think it's foolish because a lot of Black people are truly ignorant to all the great Black people that come before them. They only know what white America has essentially taught us. Like this to be very blunt, like a lot of Black people only know what they learned in school. So for me, I didn't learn Malcolm X or anything about Malcolm X or Fred Hampton or any of them through school. Like I had the internet. I was fortunate enough to have a computer at a really young age. So I was a kid that lived on Wikipedia and just type in anything in I can to learn about history. I was really big, I was really into history when I was a child. So I mean, to say that, it creates a fertile ground for heroism. I don't necessarily support that.
Also, when it happened with white people too, when you're studying Christopher Columbus and George Washington.
I don't even know shit about Christopher Columbus, to be honest.
I don't even think
they can tell you what
celebrates him anymore.
What is it? The Nina? I can't even
the
get
Santa Maria and the Pinta.
And they have his own holiday. What do you mean they don't celebrate?
No, I'm saying like, of course, the holiday is still there, but as an individual, I don't think anybody idolizes Christopher Columbus. Anybody that I know of.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there might be somewhere.
Why is Christopher Columbus? Wasn't he sent on behalf of Spain?
Yeah, he was sponsored by Spain.
Why the fuck is he so important?
Because he discovered America. Duh.
He's an Italian explorer.
Yeah.
He discovered
sponsored by Spain.
Because he couldn't get funding
from
Italy, I think.
He didn't even die in America. He died in Spain. Fuck out of here.
Yeah. What do you think, Bryan?
What I think on? I'll attack the other side of your question. So Desmond addressed the other half about the heroism and the hero worship, but to your point about the racism, celebration of Black history is not racism. It's simply the celebration of a group of people. To be qualified as racism, it would mean that you would have to be discriminating against other people. And so by saying that something is great and pointing out the accomplishments in one group, it does not undermine something. Like with the three of us, if you have a particularly good point you make on a discussion and say, hey Josh, that was a really great point. Does that mean Desmond doesn't contribute equally? Does it mean that he doesn't have like good discussion, good conversation? No. It just means that I identified that one particular thing you said that I liked. That's all that is. So that's the concept, is like recognizing one thing at a given time is not diminishing the accomplishments of others. So that's why I feel like that argument for racism doesn't stack up with Black History Month or Native American Indigenous Peoples Month, Hispanic Heritage Month, any other month like that.
Yeah, even on top of that, like even just using your premise itself, like you said, when it came with Dr. Woodson, it's Black History Month. When it was Negro History Week, it was set to be the second week of February because of the confluences with Frederick Douglass and Abraham Lincoln's birthday falling on that same week. I think Frederick Douglass is the 12th and Abraham Lincoln is the 14th, or might have them flipped. But Frederick Douglass and Abraham Lincoln's birthday are really close together, which is why it was chosen as the second week of February.
Mm-hmm.
So,
there's been actual talk of like removing Abraham Lincoln's name from schools and everything like that because it was found out that he wasn't directly involved he was directly involved, but he didn't actually want slaves to be released and freed. So do you guys think that would affect Black History Month at all?
I believe the quote he said, or that I came across, I don't know if it was a quote or a writing, but his words were that if he could have preserved the perfect union without freeing a single slave, he would have done it. So yeah. I mean, I understand I feel like his choice to have the Emancipation Proclamation and give that address was a political move. And I mean, it is what it is. But do I think that that's going to lead to him?
It was like Donald Trump bringing Lil Pump on the stage for Black people.
But Black people don't even like Lil Pump.
Oh yeah, right. That's
I don't know who he was trying to impress. The people he was looking to impress weren't even eligible to vote. So 14-year-old kids.
That's
but
funny.
To your point, you're asking, do I think that because of that Abraham Lincoln's going to get removed from history? Is that what you're asking?
No. Do you think that would somehow affect, because his birthday is in February, in the middle of February, do you think that would somehow affect Black History Month? Like, oh no, we don't want Abraham Lincoln associated with Black history.
No.
But this guy, some people, they'll cancel him.
You're right. They could cancel Abraham Lincoln. They're trying to get rid of the penny already.
Really?
They've been trying to do it for years because it costs more money to produce a penny than the penny's actually worth.
Mm.
But so how pervasive of an idea is this that you're talking about? Like what group of people is saying this? How large is the group of people? Is it a minority? Is it sizable?
About Abraham Lincoln?
Yes.
I'm not sure exactly. But I don't
Black
know.
Folks.
From my experience, I feel like a lot of the extremists of people want to get canceled is like liberal white folks, not really Black folks. You know what I mean? So I think it's probably more white folks, but I don't know how many of them are there. Like if it's a large group of people, how many are they signing the petition online? Like what's going on? You know what I mean?
Right. So you're just saying it's an idea that you came across online, kind of like some of the other stuff we've discussed. But in terms of how prevalent it is, you don't know whether it's a lot of people saying this. It's just something you saw in passing.
Yeah, I've seen it on CNN too. Like people, they've been talking to Black people about, they've been thinking about removing. It might be laws too, like laws coming up too of removing like Confederate generals and like maybe Lincoln's name too. But I don't know the actual gist of it. You know what I mean? So I don't know the specifics of it. It's just a question I just came up with too.
And then I think this ties into one of the early episodes we've done about does the intention matter? If you guys, what was the episode we done on that? The internal versus external motivation behind things.
Yeah, it was an early episode.
Yeah. So in that case, my question for you guys is, does it really matter if he wanted to free slaves or not? Like if you were to weigh the weight of the gravity of the two different actions, him not wanting to free them and then actually freeing them. Like, do you feel like one is more important than the other when assessing his moral standing, or I guess assessing his place in history, how we have him in whatever kind of regard we do?
You want to go first, Des?
I was just gonna say from a political standpoint, I understand it. Like as you're not the leader of the free world yet, but as the president of the United States, or what is he?
President of the Union,
15 or 16 at this time. Like to have talks of secession during your tenure as president, I could understand like the damning effect it could leave on your legacy. So I can understand like trying to serve his best interests and saying what he has to say about it. But for me, I think intentions tell it all, and it's like for me, I do my best to avoid putting in or avoid giving intentions too much thought because it can confuse things. So I guess like the act of just being the one to quote unquote free the slaves, I think it weighs more than, what his original intent might be or may have been.
I feel like that goes against what you said in the episode, though. I feel like you said intentions. I'm not quite sure what you said about intentions, but I feel like you said intention doesn't matter.
I preface what I said by just saying that.
Okay.
I was saying that I don't try and give intentions too much thought because it causes too much confusion. But just based off for the sake of answering the question, like it's one of those things where the intent doesn't really matter because of what the action and outcome was. So essentially, I'm agreeing with what I'm saying. Like I'm not giving his intent too much thought because the outcome was what it was.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I think at this time, you shouldn't put too much thought into it. I don't think you should be looking to tear down any Abraham Lincoln statues or rename any schools because that is a part of history, and racism is a part of history. That whole act right there was a part of history. So I don't think you should really be doing that. And as far as his intentions, I mean, I have to agree with Des, really. Like, I don't think it really, because of the outcome that it produced, I don't think his intentions really matter at this point.
Yeah, I think the outcome has so much more gravity to it than his personal opinions because, I mean,
and I don't know if he was in the White House or wherever he was, just calling black people niggas. Like, oh, nigga, I'm gonna free you. Like, I don't know if he was.
They probably were. Like, I think at that time, like, it was just common terminology. Like, even for the North to refer to black people as niggas. Like, I don't think it was just something the white did as a detriment. I think like black people as a whole was. If it wasn't nigger, it was Negro. Because even through the 1900s. Like early 1900s, that they were introduced as Negroes.
Yeah, okay, yeah. One of the last things I wanted to ask, do you guys think there would be less racism if Black History Month was taught more, or not Black History Month, or Black history in general was taught more?
But I think that Black history being taught more would lead to a decrease in racism.
Yeah. Or it would have.
I think it provides a fertile ground for potentially to decrease racism. Because like, if you just simply look at the invention aspect of the amount of good that Black people have done, and then you ask, like, even the washer and dryer, or the wash and dry. Like, people think of Black people like, oh yeah, what's his name? Eli Whitney created the cotton gin. Like, he contributed to the mass production of cotton that that white people benefited from slave labor. Like, he contributed to the system of slavery. But then if you actually sit back and question white people on who created the washing machine and all these current appliances that come standard in homes or are standard in homes, like, you give fertile ground for people to become enlightened. Like, I think a lot of racism is just ignorant based. Like, you look at Black people and you look at, it's that continuous thought of you being superior to them. Whereas if you educate someone and it's like, holy shit, a lot of what we utilize today was originally invented by Black people, it kind of derails the whole it derails the train that racism has flourished on for centuries. This literally has thrived on the fact that Black people or people of darker color are inferior in some way, shape or form.
I think you answered the question great in the way that you said it provided a fertile ground, because it's an opportunity just as with anything else. Because racism is a learned behavior. So if you're typically is learned at home, from as far as I can tell. So you're saying taught as in the school system. So if a child is raised with those ideologies at home, but they come to school, it's an opportunity to prove that wrong and to give them other material to compare that against. Because, okay, well, mom and dad say this, but I see this when I'm actually in school. And I mean, over the course of that, you could potentially sway somebody's opinion, change their mind, enlighten them to other people's perspectives, other people's cultures, the accomplishments, and find more common ground. Because when you're at home, you have an echo chamber. You're not, as a child, you don't really have the intellect, you don't have the ability, the capability to challenge your parents in a sense to where you can make sense of the world in that way. It's pretty much, as a child, you're being just fed their opinions and recycled and repeat. So I think in its best form, it would provide another opportunity to combat that. And I can't say it would be 100% successful either, but I think that it would be better than nothing, for sure.
Okay. How much do you think it would be of, I know how you mentioned in another episode, I don't know if it was last episode, about them being presented the information of Black history, but them like, whatever, or not taking it, or doing whatever. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
that's exactly what I was saying.
Yeah.
It's all about the individual. Desmond said it's fertile ground, but if you don't have the tools, you don't have like the right equipment for it, you can't do anything with it.
Okay. Yeah, and to be clear, before we even publish this, Eli Whitney was not Black. It was a poor example, but you get what I'm saying. Like, Black people that have contributed in some way, shape, or form or fashion to, what was the system of slavery. Like, you turn around and use that as a rebuttal, but as you begin to see, like I said, their contributions to society in itself and what we use, like Eli Whitney was a poor example. I should have did my homework on that one before I said that one, but you get the gist of what I'm saying.
When you said that, I didn't interpret it as you were saying he was Black. Maybe because I just understood. I knew that you knew he wasn't Black. And so I was just saying that, okay, I think you're just talking from the objective standpoint of inventions, not inventions by Black people.
True. That's a good twist on it. But I wanted to clarify, just in case if like this was to be taken out of proportion, like Eli Whitney wasn't. Because I was just thinking about it. I was like, damn, I hope people don't listen to this and think that I'm implying that Eli Whitney was Black. Like, he's not. But I'm just, like you said, I'll let whatever you said be the.
I mean, I feel like you have a valid point too, because whenever people do have an opportunity to take something out of context, they will and interpret in the worst possible way. So I think that was a wise call on your part too.
Yeah.
Do you guys have?
Oh, keep going.
You have another question?
No, you good. I was going to ask you if you had.
Do you guys have any other problems with Black history, or any? Well, I guess the way that I frame the question, obviously, I have a problem because the way that I see Black history is we focus so much on the past, which is great. I mean, that's a necessity, like what happened in the times preceding us, but Black history is being made today. And I think there's a number of like great individuals who we happen to gloss over. And I was just coming up with some names prior to us coming on this episode. And I remember like Simone Biles, for example, she's not the most decorated Black Olympian, but she's the most decorated American Olympian, period, with 30 different medals. And it's just amazing. And like there's tons of other individuals in the modern times right now that are breaking barriers and like being the greatest in their respective fields. But just as the nature of people, we don't celebrate people until after they're gone. And I was just thinking about other ones, like for example, The Rock has been the highest grossing actor in 3 different years, at least that's what I've seen. And so, I mean, that's a hell of an accomplishment. Like out of all the actors, the highest grossing actor. And then like with the guys on Earn Your Leisure. So this is one that's actually one really close to home, because the guys from the Earn Your Leisure podcast, they made finance accessible to people like myself that work during the day, and they're especially in the Black community, and they're teaching about investing, stocks, real estate, and things like that. They have a lot of other prominent people like that. I think they even had Mark Cuban on there a few weeks ago, and they became, I believe, the #1 podcast in the financial sector over the span of a year. So like they're making Black history now, those guys over there, Rashad, Troy, and Ian. So it's like we have a wealth of Black history being made now, but we only focus on the past. I'm not saying forget the past, but I'm saying we should take it all in its totality. So what happened and what's happening, because Black history is alive today. It's not something that ended in the Civil Rights Movement. That's my problem with it.
I got you. I don't really have a problem with it, but I understand what you mean. But I think a question I want to have to you, I'm guessing you talk about in school or just in general, like as far as like it's not being taught in general.
But I would say it would, education is part of it for certain.
Okay. I would think I would ask like how often do they actually update the history books for that to actually happen?
They got a lot to add after last year.
Yeah, true.
But I
So
really couldn't answer that because we've been out of school for so long.
yeah, that's the other thing. Like, how often do they actually update the actual history books to actually include present day stuff? But I do think you see a lot of that on social media. Like, a lot of people in social media will bring up people who are doing, like, just black people doing stuff now, and it doesn't have to be in Black History Month. They'll just bring up black people just doing stuff now, certain accomplishments like Simone Biles, and other people. So I think you get a lot of that, but maybe not in the way that you probably want to. But you get it on social media though.
Des, what are you laughing at?
Simone Biles.
Simone Biles.
Like
What?
that, man. He was watching what's that show with Skip and Shannon? You been watching Undisputed, bro?
Bayless.
Why'd you laugh when I said The Rock?
Because man, I think of The Rock as like, I see The Rock paid homage more to his Polynesian
I knew you were gonna go there.
culture than his African American. Like, he obviously identifies as an African American, but I've always felt like The Rock pays more homage to his Polynesian culture than.
Yeah, white people see him as black, but
I think
yeah.
I think he was raised. He lived in Hawaii for a little while, so I think he had more contact with that side of the family. So that would make sense. But a lot of times when people do talk about black culture and like the fact or the lack of black world heavyweight champions in the wrestling world, the wrestling industry, they'll say, well, okay, well, you have The Rock, and then people will say, oh, well, he's not black because he's more Polynesian or he's more Samoan, and they say, okay, well, they're like, where do we get off thinking that we can remove someone's blackness and say that, okay, they're not this? Not saying that's what you're doing, but that's an argument that I have seen, and it's like, what does that even mean? Like, you can arbitrarily remove someone's heritage when you want to.
Nah, it's like the I'm not black, I'm OJ type thing. Like, you not understanding. I'm not gonna say it's not necessarily you not understanding, but it's like, I guess they're so, and there's nothing wrong with it. They're so in the moment of now that they're not necessarily realizing the impact that they're currently having for people that look like them. So it's not a big deal. Per se.
So you're saying The
Something
Rock
like
does that?
No, I'm saying, like, that's like when you're saying, like, how do we choose to, deprive someone of their blackness, or try and, I guess you could say, measure someone's blackness per se. Like, it's that, I feel like it's that attitude with it that causes people to do it. Like, I acknowledge The Rock is black. Like you're mentioning, he's one of he's not the highest earning actor in Hollywood is an African American male. Like, case in point.
He's doing
But, like,
good.
I've never seen him like I've never seen him as like, I've never seen him, how do I say it, advertise his blackness, and kind of like the way OJ did.
He's posted about his heritage a lot of times though. Like, I've seen stuff within recent times, and I guess dating a little bit further back with him acknowledging that and celebrating that side of his heritage as well. It's just because I guess he's not walking around with the kufi on his head and he's not like he's in the Nation of Domination anymore, that people are upset.
It's not even that. It's more or less like just the acknowledgement. Like, I'm not saying acknowledge your blackness like you're on some Malcolm X on your soapbox talking about this, lifting the next brother. I'm just talking about simply taking the time to acknowledge that I am one of the staples in Hollywood as a black man. Like, that's something nobody can take from him. But it's more or less like he removes the color out of and this might not be how he does it, like, whether it be done intentionally or unintentionally. Like, I feel like I don't ever hear that side of him. Like, I'm pretty sure, as you said, and as I've said, like, he acknowledges that side he acknowledges who he is, but it's like he's done what countless of black actors that were born and bred actors have wanted to do. He's done it just by having a platform that boasted it to him. Like, a lot of these, like, yeah, I'm not gonna say Ice Cube, because Ice Cube was an artist beforehand. But when you look at your comedians and all these black actors that have essentially dreamed of being the number one man in Hollywood, and The Rock has just done it. And I feel like those black actors that want to be like your Michael B. Jordan, your Chadwick Boseman, is like, those are your unapologetically black actors. Like, they don't necessarily have to flaunt their blackness, but when you look at them, they embody a black man. Like, when you look at them, you just see you see yourself in their reflection. I look at The Rock and I don't see myself. Like, I admire a lot of what he does. I love the way he carries himself, but I don't see myself in The Rock as a black man.
See, but I see a problem in that. Like, not the fact that you don't see yourself, because we're all identify people differently, but the idea of, you said it embodies what it is to be a black man. And I don't think that that's something you can easily encapsulate and say, okay, this is and this isn't.
No, that's why I said, like, I see myself, like, when I identify myself as a black man. I can look at you, I can look at Josh, I can look at my dad. I see a black man in us. When I look at The Rock, I don't see that same. I'm not looking in the mirror. But when I look at Chadwick Boseman, and when I look, or rest in peace, or when I look at Michael B. Jordan, or when I looked at you look at Kevin Hart, I look at them, how they carry themselves, like, as far as just on the screen, and how they carry their weight of being role models. And Josh, we're not gonna go there, but when, like, they carry the weight of being like leaders and who they are, and like understanding their impact and how they can move mountains. Like, I don't see that in The Rock, and it's not a bad thing. I'm not saying like I have gripes against The Rock because of it, but I'm just saying, like, we're acknowledging him as this, black superstar, but does he acknowledge himself as a black superstar? Like, he's one of the best to ever do it in each respective field, but does he view himself as the best damn black person to ever do it in each respective field, or is he just the mulatto that did his damn thing? I don't know if you can even use mulatto, because I think mulatto's black and white. So whatever black
probably
and
not,
Polynesian is.
I wasn't going to call you on it. I knew what you meant. But we probably have another discussion about this later, because I think it's something interesting. That's something I've been meaning to talk with you guys about the just the phenomenon of people get removed of their blackness when they don't represent what other people want. Or
do you feel The Rock identifies as a black person?
Yes. Yeah.
Do you think he openly says it though? Do you think
yes.
he openly? Okay.
Like I said, I've seen things that he said about that in the past, and he's really proud of his heritage that he got from his father, Rocky Johnson.
Yeah, it's not like he's saying fuck black people. I'm sorry, he's not like he's saying F black people, or you're on your own, or I did that way. Like, a lot of what The Rock does is like I think he wears more or less the emotional turmoil that life can put you through more than any race or whatever.
That's
like
accurate. I feel that
he wears that more than, and that's why I say, like, I don't have a problem with how he doesn't necessarily address the black side the way he does the Polynesian side, but he makes up for it, which is why I can appreciate him, by wearing the true turmoil that life will put you through before you can actually enjoy the fruits of your labor.
And that was his experience, because he faced that, like the adversity of life, more so than the adversity of racism. I mean, I can understand that, and I also have an appreciation for that. But I don't make the differentiation between saying that he isn't, he doesn't represent a black man, in my opinion.
That would be interesting to hear about, like, people being removed of the blackness, actual conversation about that.
I mean, we did it all the time when we were young, or had it done to us. For answering questions in class and reading. You better not let your classmates get you reading or speaking proper. You're talking white.
Wait, reading was off limits too?
Yeah.
Jesus.
That was nerdy.
We get jokes for reading?
Yes.
What type of shit is this?
For using words, for having for using more complex words, for engaging in dialogue with the teacher when they ask a question and actually taking a genuine interest in it. I even spoke about it before for the girl who told me back in 6th grade she wouldn't date me because I was too smart, or she would not go out with me because I was too smart.
That's different though than, you a smart ass nigga now because you reading. Oh, okay. Nah, go be a doctor.
Like Uncle Ruckus' dad.
Yeah.
Did I get you reading?
Yes, okay. Interesting.
I mean, but you've heard that before. I'm pretty sure. Well,
yeah, not the reading part.
You've seen other, like, your peers
talking white and everything.
Exactly.
Like that. Yeah.
And especially when it came to, like, the interest, like we did the episode about why did it take so long for Geekdom to catch on in the Black community? Or I guess that was a sub question for why did it take so long for Geekdom to catch on. We kind of like expressed our thoughts and feelings on that, how at one point in time that was something that was looked down upon.
Yeah.
And it was like you're supposed to grow out of that, and then you're just supposed to be interested in basketball and Jordans.
Okay. Yeah. Anything you want to add, Des?
We good, man.
And you got anything else, Bryan?
Do you guys have any high-profile Black individuals that you celebrate, that you admire or look up to, or somebody who you came across when you were preparing for today's episode?
None in preparation for today's episode. But yeah, there's a lot of Black individuals I look up to, actually. I think Des said who you pointing to?
Behind you.
Oh yeah, that guy, him? Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, of course, Muhammad Ali. I think Des said two of them: Chadwick Boseman, Michael B. Jordan too, Denzel Washington. If you're talking about Black actors, Will Smith. You got John David Washington. There's a whole bunch of Black people that I look at. George Carver. You can't forget about that. Yeah, so there's definitely a lot of Black people I look up to. Not necessarily in preparation to get ready for today's episode, but yeah, of course. And like what Desmond said, I see myself in them too. So yeah.
Well, since you already know I'm a big Malcolm X dude, but I would say current, like one Black dude that I really look up to, not necessarily like idolize him, but I like Sterling K. Brown because he shows you he shows you that black men can look good also in how can I say it? And where that's not what you would consider the most urban. Like he can make casual dress down clothes, like a nice suede jacket or whatever. Like you won't catch him in these. Like he makes like just regular basic stuff that we would frown upon look good. Like you can see. I guess how I'm trying to say it is, you see in him what really good taste looks like. Like you see a Black person with his horizons broadened, his appetite, his appetite increased in size. Like you see in him like someone who's had a lot of experience but never strayed too far away from what it is he knows.
He's not confounded by boundaries. That's what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
See? My translator right here, guys.
One Black person I look up to, like Josh, you listed off quite a few of them. Will Smith, Chris Rock, for example. D.L. Hughes is another one. I like a lot of comedians. I'll even go in as far as saying Jamie Foxx. I feel like Jamie Foxx is one of the most talented people we've ever seen on our screens. Like there's not a single thing that man can't do.
Shout out to Soul.
Acting, comedy, even shout out to Soul. That movie was dope. Loved it. I would even say like Jay-Z's business acumen and his lyrical prowess.
I would say him playing Ray Charles was probably one of the best performances I've ever seen. Jamie Foxx. I would say that. But yeah, he's definitely talented.
Prove my point. I mean, we can go on and on for days, but like him in particular, because I feel like for whatever reason, he doesn't get as much recognition as the other Black actors.
Probably because he was a musician first.
But he's like Bo Jackson. He's good at both.
I feel like we knew Jamie Foxx for TV first.
Really? Yeah.
The Jamie Foxx show? Like,
but maybe
he was still
he's more
actor,
television. Maybe he's more television actual movies though. Maybe that's why he's looked at more as a television actor rather than actual movies. You know what I mean? And then he has music and other things on top of that too. But that could be because he started in television anyway. But
yeah, I was gonna say I knew Jamie Foxx because of the Jamie Foxx show, not because of Unpredictable.
That was my experience. Like I grew up and seeing him on TV, but his music is fire too. And then I guess the obvious one that we were leaving out was Barack Obama, just for his poise and presentation.
Big facts.
Like
Big
he
facts.
he embodies what it is to be a professional in every facet of your life, as far as I can tell. Like I'm not in his personal affairs or anything like that, but just from an outside perspective, that's what he represented was definitely admirable.
Good. Yeah. Interesting.
Ben Carson, anyone?
Ben Carson.
He was an honorable mention on my list.
Hey, go ahead and take us out of here, man.
You got an album of the week?
Yeah, Mr. Midnight by Larry June.
Gotcha. All right. Be sure to check it out. If you guys like the discussion, don't forget to hit the like button. We're going to see you guys next week. Peace.
But while you're here, be sure to check out other great content from the Breakdown crew, including previous episodes of the podcast, Joshua versus Movies, Joshua versus Music, and of course, haven't forgotten about my plant lovers, Feel the Love. Just check out this begonia.